Okay, when I say the word leech, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably something slimy, maybe a little creepy, right? Well, in Minnesota, you've got to see the other side of the story. Because what you're looking at isn't just some pond creature, it's the bedrock of a multi-million-dollar industry. Yeah, you heard me. Welcome to Minnesota's slippery gold rush.
For any angler trying to catch Minnesota's famous walleye, this bucket right here, this is the secret weapon. Leeches aren't just bait, they're the fuel for a massive recreational fishing industry that keeps the whole state humming. And this is why we call it a gold rush. In the middle of fishing season, a single dozen of the right leeches can sell for up to $15. Now think about that. Multiply it by thousands of bait shops, hundreds of thousands of fishermen, you start to get a sense of just how big this whole thing is. It's wild.
But here's the thing. You can't just wade into a pond and scoop up any old leech. The whole business, the entire industry, is built on one very specific type. It's a real hero versus villain situation, and telling them apart is absolutely critical.
So, let's meet the hero of our story, the ribbon leech. Now, unlike its famous blood-sucking cousins, this guy is a predator. It actually hunts for other tiny critters, and that's exactly why fishermen love it. You can handle them, put them on a hook, and they won't try to latch on to you. They're the good guys.
And then you've got this one, the North American medical leech. This one is a bloodsucker, and guess what? It lives in the exact same ponds. The key difference is those spots. See them? About 20 little red or orange dots down its back. The harvesters, the folks who collect these, they have to be experts at sorting these out because mixing them up is a huge problem.
It all comes down to trust, right? Anglers pay good money for ribbon leeches because they know they're the real deal. If a bait shop accidentally sells someone a bloodsucker, well, that doesn't just ruin a day of fishing, it completely shatters that customer's trust. And in a small community, a reputation killer like that can literally shut a business down.
Okay, so if these ribbon leeches are so valuable, you're probably thinking, why don't we just, farm them? Great question. And the answer is tangled up in their incredibly weird and fascinating life cycle. This is the key to everything.
So first off, leeches are hermaphrodites. Kinda weird, right? It just means every single leech has both male and female parts. But, and this is a big but, they can't fertilize themselves. Nope, they still need to find a partner to get the job done.
And they don't lay eggs, not in the way you're thinking. Instead, they make this amazing little thing called a cocoon. It's this tough, sort of gelatin-like case that they secrete, and it's basically a perfect little armored nursery for the fertilized eggs.
The whole process is pretty mind-blowing. So after they mate, a special little band on the leech's body starts to secrete this cocoon. The leech then lays its eggs inside of it, and then it literally just backs its entire body out of the cocoon, sealing it up as it goes.
And right here, this is the single most important detail in this entire story. For those little baby leeches to survive, the cocoon can't be deep underwater. It has to be left in damp soil right there at the edge of the waterline. This one tiny biological fact dictates everything: where leeches live, how you find them, and why they're so ridiculously hard to farm. Which brings us to the big problem. The entire multi-million-dollar industry, which has been relying on wild leeches for generations, is suddenly facing a huge crisis. Why? Because the wild leeches are disappearing. Just think about it. For decades, the whole system just worked. Harvesters went out to the marshes, trapped the leeches, and sold them to bait shops. Simple. But what happens to that whole economic engine when the fuel itself just starts to run out? This number is what's setting off all the alarm bells. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources is reporting that since 2009, the wild leech harvest has crashed by a jaw-dropping 70%. 70. Look at this graph. That is a steep, steep drop. And it's not just a number on a page. This is a catastrophe for the industry. It means fewer leeches for the harvesters to catch, which means less supply for the bait shops and way higher prices for anglers. The entire chain is threatening to snap. So, with the wild supply just plummeting, the industry is finally turning to what seems like the only logical answer. If you want to save this Minnesota tradition, the future has to be in farming. And this is a really big shift in thinking. Relying on the wild has become a gamble. It's unreliable, and the numbers are just tanking. But aquaculture, well, that could offer a sustainable, consistent, year-round supply. Frankly, it's the only way to meet the demand without completely wiping out what's left in the wild.
But let's be clear, this is not easy. Remember that one critical fact about the cocoons needing damp soil? Well, a successful farm has to perfectly recreate that weird hybrid habitat with a little shoreline and everything. And on top of that, you've got to manage water quality, temperature, and navigate a whole mess of regulations from the DNR. It's a serious challenge.
So, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this. You have a super valuable product, a supply that's in total crisis, and a potential solution that means you have to become an expert on a bizarre life cycle. Can science and farming save this uniquely Minnesotan gold rush? Well, an entire industry is betting everything that it can.